Hey there, City Skylines enthusiasts. My name is Flyvox. I'm your host for tonight. Welcome to Flyvox Talks Cities, the podcast which revolves around the best city building simulation out there, Cities Skylines. With me today is CitiesbyDiana, the very first guest on the podcast. Hi, welcome, and thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Absolutely. It's great to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to, please share a few words about yourself.
Sure. Where do I start? Well, my name is Diana. That is my real name. I am from the San Francisco Bay Area, so United States. I don't know. I'm relatively new to the YouTube content creation game. Been playing cities for a couple years now, but that's pretty much it. I just enjoy making nice looking things on the internet and sharing it with the world.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I've noticed you mentioned your YouTube channel. I have it open right now, actually. You've basically just started half a year ago
Yeah.
and you've reached YouTube partner. That is amazing. GG's on that.
Thank you.
That is really, really cool. I saw that and that was that was really exciting. That is uh
Yeah, it actually happened on January 1st, New Year's Day.
oh my
So
God, perfect. That is really,
just
really cool.
yeah, so starting the new year off right.
That is a good start if I've ever seen one, 100%. So,
hmm
Diana, your content is around city skylines, of course. So let me know, how did you first hear about the game? Like, what was it that first tipped you off that there is this amazing city builder out there that you want to get your hands on and play?
Great question. So I grew up playing games like SimCity and The Sims, so I've always been a fan of
Oh,
the genre. But I actually wasn't really a gamer in adulthood. Um, a few years ago, I had spent a lot of time going back and forth between San Francisco and New Orleans, so I was flying a lot. I always got a window seat, and I loved seeing the landscape and the cities from above. So I ended up downloading a mobile game called Theotown on my phone, just to pass the time while waiting at the airport and in flights. I was like, "Oh, this is cute. Reminds me of SimCity."
yeah.
I found myself like trying to mimic the designs that I saw from the air, but with that game, like you can only do like straight line road. Um,
Oh,
and
okay.
eventually I was on YouTube and I just kind of came across City Skylines randomly. I remember seeing $2.20. That was like the first channel I saw. And I had heard of the game, but really had no idea what it was about. And I saw him do Marble Mountain, which is based on the area I'm from. And so it really inspired me. But I didn't know, like, I had like a really crappy laptop and I didn't know if it could run the game.
I
One day,
understand that. Yeah.
yep. One day it was on sale. I saw it on Steam. It was on sale. So I bought it and immediately was hooked. I loved it. There was like endless possibilities. You could do whatever you wanted. And I liked that you could do curved roads.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was like revolutionary for me because I'd been playing this mobile game, which if you don't know anything about Theotown, it has a lot for a game that's on Android. It has a lot of the same kind of capabilities as City Skylines. It has a huge modding community. So it was kind of a smooth
Well, that's
transition.
awesome. I
Yeah.
have never heard of that game. That sounds really good, though.
Yeah, I think it's on PC too, but it looks kind of like SimCity 2000. But people make like assets for it. They make mods for it. It's insane.
That is really cool. That's very interesting. Like I never, you mentioned SimCity. I personally, I have never been into simulation games before I like came across City Skylines. And that was like actually just like a funny thing in my case. Just a coworker actually at work came up to me, and I think it was like 2015. The game released 2015, so it was like the end of
Mhm.
2015, maybe start of 2016. So very early on, basically. He's like, "Oh, hey, I saw this cool game. It's a city building simulation. You need to check it out." And I'm like, you know, it's not for me, that type of genre. And so I don't know why, but I did decide to check it out, and I saw a let's play by Imperial Jedi, like the his probably, I don't know if it's his like his most viewed video, the how to start your city from like
Oh,
7
yes.
years ago, the very old one, like one of his first, and that just like instantly got me hooked. Well, first to Imperial Jedi, to his like nature, and then of course since then I decided to binge watch his videos. In the end, then City Skylines, and so that is what inspired me. And it's like interesting that you have $2.20, you have a YouTuber, and so do I. So it's both
Yep,
like we watched the videos, and we both got excited, inspired to get the game, to start playing the game.
exactly. So it's I know sometimes I get comments on my YouTube channel from people that have never played the game that just
Yeah.
watch it. And I'm like, "Hey, I was there too."
Exactly, exactly, exactly. I then initially decided actually, well, I'm not going to take a big risk. And I think I even bought the game like used for the PlayStation 4. And I
Mhm.
was like a long time console player before I finally made the switch to the PC version. And yeah, it has been truly amazing ever since.
I don't think I've ever played the console version. I hear it's almost a different game in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, of course. First, it's simply vanilla, of course.
yeah.
But there's of course like other limit. Like, you have to make a difference between like the PlayStation Xbox version, and there's also a Nintendo Switch version, which I'm sorry, but I cannot recommend. I have that also. And the Switch, you reach like 10,000 population, and the Switch, like, it's like, nope, I'm out of here. You know, I can barely handle that. So
Yeah, I have a friend actually, and he was watching my YouTube channel, and it made him want to buy Cities, and he bought it for the
okay.
Switch.
Okay, okay.
He likes it, he loves it, but I'm like, hey, if you want to buy it for the Switch, go for it. Computer, PC, much more in depth. I even told him, I was like, hey, if you're watching my channel, 90% of the stuff that I do, you probably won't be able to do on Switch. So I gave him some recommendations of like different YouTubers who do more vanilla content.
Oh yeah, and there's like amazing vanilla stuff out there. Like if you're really limited, there's some content creators that show off some skills which I find truly amazing. Like
Oh yeah.
uh, what some people come up with to get around the fact that they don't have mods, they don't have Move It, Anarchy, TMP, whatever, and just do like vanilla style builds and find little tricks in the game that vanilla players can use without any mods, being able to almost recreate having mods visually. That is so amazing to me, and sometimes I just think it's like, wow, some of these builds, vanilla builds, look better than my modded builds.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I know that I've done a few sort of lightly modded interchange videos.
Yeah.
And there's a creator that's on console, Chef Josh Plays. And he would take the modded interchange that I'd built, and then he would do a vanilla version on console. And it looked just as good. And I'm like, how? How did
Wow.
you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, every time I see him do like a vanilla version of like some sort of like complicated interchange, I'm like, dude, amazing.
Amazing. Exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know Chef Josh plays as well. Really, really good builder as well. In the vanilla, like I think he's on PS5.
I think so. Yeah.
And yeah, amazing, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Diana, tell me, is there like anything special that you remember from your first time playing City Skylines? Like, do you remember the first time you booted up the game and was like, okay, what do I do now?
Yes, I remember I was really bad at the game.
Same
I
here.
I put zones everywhere. Like in every single space was zones, and I would put just residential next to industrial. I took almost every like regular local residential road and connected it to the highway with diamond interchanges. Like every single one. And I just made a mess. And then I remember finding mods and having no idea what to do with it. My game crashed when I downloaded procedural objects and a
Uh,
bunch of like custom buildings, because I didn't download loading screen mod.
you didn't
So I
have
had
that
no idea
one
what
yet.
it was. They had it. I just didn't know what it was, so I didn't download it.
Oh, of course. Like especially, I think in in the mod section in the Steam Workshop, you can get lost. You can get totally
Yes.
lost. Like for me, the first time, even though I've prior to playing the first time, I've watched a ton of video or a ton of videos on how to start your city, how how to's city skylines. I had like the same issues. Like I didn't know nothing, and I was on console and vanilla, and I was like, this is almost like too much. Like it's overwhelming. This game is overwhelming, right? I mean, you have like the little advisor in game, but like the detailed stuff that you really need to know, it's you kind of have to figure out on your own. And
Yep.
so even though I've watched a lot of tutorials on the game early or before even playing, I was like I started the game. I just and I did the same as you did, basically connect all the roads to the different highways, and I was like, oh my god, why are my people getting sick? Well, because you have pollution in the water, and it's like, oh my god, overwhelming. And then of course when you find the Steam Workshop and you go to the Steam Workshop, and that is it's the same all over. It's like, for me it was super overwhelming at first, and then of course you can check out some videos like the top 10 mods or the mods that you need or whatever, and slowly but surely you figure things out, learning by doing as you go along.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I learned. It just took time. Um, Watching lots of different creators on YouTube, different tutorials, and just trial and error.
Oh
It's
yeah,
especially when you're doing mods, like the game takes a lot of tuning. It's like
it's true.
I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like once you know, you just kind of know. And it just clicks one day. Um, and I'm coming back to vanilla now, and I'm doing some vanilla content, and it's different. And it's like things are clicking for me in a different way coming back to vanilla.
Oh yeah, I understand that completely. Like I've been on console for like years before switching. That I'm still always in this vanilla mindset. Sometimes when I also do like live streams and we play the game, and then I'm like just fiddling around without any mods and trying to get things to work, and then my chat is like, "Dude, you have mods. Just use TMP for that." And I'm like, "Oh, you're right."
Yep,
So
yep.
I keep forgetting because I'm still like in this console mindset that I have to like try and fix everything without any mods.
Hmm.
But so yeah, that's also something I slowly gotten used to, and it's okay nowadays. But sometimes I still like to go and do things vanilla style. Although on stream I have like modded gameplay, but on YouTube I usually do lots of vanilla content.
Yeah, yeah. I've been doing more like most, I'd say mostly vanilla content. Like some of my interchange tutorials, it's like, oh yeah, I'll do it in a way that can be done vanilla, but I may have like precision engineering where I'm like using the measurements.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, I do a lot of that where it's like, okay, this is for my own use. This is something I do. And even with my vanilla city, I like to have visual mods. It just the game looks so much nicer when you have a good theme and a good color correction. So I like to use that,
That is
but
so
then the
true.
gameplay being vanilla. I
Yeah.
feel like they've done a lot of good work with like the new color corrections, but um the base game can look a little, it can look a little dated on screen when you're on YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So speaking about YouTube, was I guess City Skylines for you was related to you starting your content creation journey or your YouTube channel in general?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I've never been on YouTube before as a creator. I had no experience in video editing or content creation. So it's my first ever YouTube channel. Um, I have been wanting to create content for the game for a couple years now. Um, Really inspired by like channels like Prez. That was a big one for me.
Oh
I
yeah.
love the way his content was put together. I love the way that there was a storytelling aspect to it. Same with $2.20 City Planner Plays. Another big inspiration for me because of like her editing style and kind of her vibe was Toady. I don't know if you know Toady
Oh
White
yeah,
BQ.
Toady. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I know Toady.
yeah, her whole vibe, like that was a big when I saw that I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." um And yeah, like I said, like City Planner Plays, like I have been following his channel since it was the size of my channel.
Oh
So
my
like,
God.
yeah,
Nice.
so like,
Nice.
a couple thousand subscribers, just kind of getting there. So it was amazing to watch that, and really kind of learn. Yeah, so a couple years ago, I started building this gigantic city. And I really wanted to make a YouTube channel out of it. So as I've got OBS, I was recording all of my builds. I filled up my hard drive before I made any video.
Oh,
Just totally filled up my hard drive. Finally, I made a video, it was about 2 years ago, of me, like, making an interchange and then building, like, a truck stop or something. I can't remember. I think it was and I put it on, like, my personal YouTube account that I use to, like, watch content.
okay.
No voice, just music, 45 minutes of time-lapsed builds, and that was my first ever thing putting on YouTube, but I was so overwhelmed. I could not figure out how to edit, I couldn't figure out how to tell a story, so I just kinda tabled it. Yeah, about 6 months ago, I just randomly decided to start again and give it a try. I had a better computer at this point, still not the best computer, but I have a lot of RAM, so that works.
Perfect.
Um, but it was totally just I really like the artistic design elements of a lot of the different YouTubers I watch. I like the storytelling and really enjoy being able to create something very unique, and kinda use it as an outlet for, say, like, digital art.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nice. And so you had to learn everything like the editing, thumbnail creation. I assume you do everything yourself, right? For
I
your
do.
for your channel. Nice. I know how much work it is. So that is really amazing. And it did pay off half a year, not even half a year. And you are a YouTube partner. That is really, really amazing.
Yeah, making those pennies.
Great work. That is amazing. That is really, really
Thank
cool.
you.
What's something that you enjoy the most about City Skylines?
I love the open-endedness of it. There's
Oh,
really,
that's
like,
good.
no wrong way to play the game. So, you can really do whatever you want with it. Um, and the varying different styles of play, you have the types that are very technical. It's all about like getting the design just right, getting the angles just right, getting the mechanics just right. And then you have the types that are just like all about detailing, all about making something nice. And there's a million different ways in between. Um, and
True.
I love that. And I just love that it's such a good medium, like I said, for digital art and storytelling.
Yeah. That is a good point actually. The open-endedness of the game and that it can be tailored or every like individual player can tailor the game to their liking, to their needs. As you said, the different styles, whatever type of player you are, that works. Like you can do whatever you want in the game basically, and
I
there's
mean,
and that's good. There's no wrong way.
exactly. You could make a poop volcano, you
True.
know?
And if you put that
Uh,
on YouTube, it's going to get hundred thousands of views probably.
exactly. So there's everything. You could do a challenge. I remember when I first got started on YouTube, I saw a toady, she made this challenge where it's like find a random scene on Google Street View and try to make it
Oh,
with whatever assets you have.
yeah, I know that. I did that too, actually.
I did it, and I did it as, like, one of my first videos, and it was fun, it was difficult, it was a different kinda thing to do, like, I had to, like I used the assets I already had and, like, figured out I ended up detailing, like, these 2 houses, and it came really close, but as soon as that was done, the game crashed so I couldn't save it because I wanted it to
Oh
be in my
no.
city. So there's a whole episode of one of my series that just never ended up in the actual city
Oh man.
because the game crashed, but it was just 2 houses, so I'll take the loss there.
Okay, that's good. And you got the footage, so that was
Exactly.
good. That was really really good. So, how do you actually go about when you start a new city? Like, what are your thoughts? And are you someone that like tries to plan everything, like every little detail, what goes where are my connections? Or do you just like, okay, I'm going to pick a map and we're just going to start and then we'll see where it takes us?
Yeah, great question. Usually, I like to pick a real world location as inspiration for my cities,
Oh,
so I'll do some research into like different places that may be fun to build, that maybe I've been to, or maybe haven't been to, or that maybe I just find look nice. Usually it's places that I may have been to, but don't necessarily like live in and spend a lot of time in. So it's like I have some idea of what it's supposed to look like. Um, I'll do initial planning. So getting an idea of, okay, where do I want, say, the downtown to be? Where do I want
Yeah.
the main highways to be? So lately I've been into making my own maps based off of real life locations. I will pick somewhere. I'll get the hype map from that Skydark site, and then I will edit it and mess with it to make it more playable. And then I'll keep that source material of like, oh, where is this kind of located? And I'll keep that in mind as I build. And so I'll make something that sort of resembles a real world place, but isn't actually that place. And I'll make the layouts resemble the actual city, but I'll do my own thing with it. I'll kind of do say like, oh, if it's a very gridded city, I'll do like a grid that's kind of similar, but then I'll break from it after a while.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes I'll use, like with my one that's based on Salt Lake City, the most part, the freeways, I didn't make that map. I got that map on Steam, but the freeways kind of mirror where they actually are in the real city. But then the city itself is kind of different. So that's sort of what I like to do. Um, I'll use districts to create like areas where I'm like, oh, I'm going to label this is where the downtown is. This is where the airport is. This is where the suburbs
Oh,
are.
okay. That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like everything is planned, but just general ideas of where it goes. Um, and then especially if I'm doing something for YouTube. If I'm doing something on my own, just like not for YouTube, it's a lot more messy. It's a lot more, oh, I'll go to this place and I'll go to that place and come back 2 weeks later and build this thing that I was working on before, but not done.
I
Whereas when I'm
understand.
exactly, yeah. So whereas when I'm doing something for YouTube, generally I want each episode to have a focus. So whether that focus is transit, whether that focus is an airport or a college or something like that, and
Yeah.
I'll make that sort of the focus of the episode, and then also build the neighborhoods around it and sort of develop a story around why that place is the way it is.
Wow, that is really good. Yeah, I think I get why the your fast growth was there for your YouTube, because that is actually that is really good plan. That is really good plans in general for like city building. If you start a new city, although like personally I've never dabbled with creating a map. So that is always something. I feel like I have so little time with everything. I'm just glad if I can start a city and get like a good serious going. Be that for me, personal, because yeah, sometimes I just like to open up a save, put some headphones in, turn on some tunes, and just build stuff without thinking
Mhm.
about the content. And that is very much fun for me too. But I'm in general with when it comes to planning, I'm probably the opposite of you. So I'm like kind of all over the place, and that is something that I try to for me to work on as well, is to do a better general planning, at least general planning. Where do certain bigger areas like major transit hubs or downtown, as you also said, where does like cargo and everything, where does that go? That is something that I really need to work on myself, because that is something that I really neglect, and I just like go in and have a great start to the city, and then I'm like, okay, so what do we do now? We expand maybe here, and so I
Mhm.
really need to get behind on that.
Some of
The planning,
Yeah. Yeah, so some of my planning I regret later. Like I have a city that is on my channel, that's sort of it's sort of like a historic Southern California style build.
Okay.
And one thing I did with it that I really regret now is the downtown area is wedged between a freeway and a railroad track. And so it's
Oh,
very tight. Like it's only about 3 blocks wide. And I'm like, I really wish I wouldn't have put that railroad track there.
I understand. Yeah.
And then now there's like a train station and the whole city's developed around it. And I'm like, Well, I could do something with it. I could mess with it and change it, but real life cities are poorly planned all the time. So
That's
I'm
true.
gonna let it go.
That is true.
And it was, my first map I'd ever made. I've actually only made like 2 maps, but it's something that I like to do more now. Um, and that I've really learned. But yeah, there's a lot of regrets I have for that particular map too.
Okay.
It's very flat. The like core focus of the map is like this gigantic lake, but the gigantic lake is so far on the edge of the map that it's like, oh, well, if you're playing vanilla, you're not even going to get to that if you don't have
Oh
80
yeah.
tiles.
Okay. With the tiles. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been trying to keep that in mind as I make maps. Like, what would the like base game player
Oh,
get from this map?
yeah, to keep in mind, like the 9 tiles are like what is reachable for vanilla players. That's pretty cool
Exactly.
actually. And you said something very interesting about the YouTube videos having to revolve like around a major thing, which I think is very very true, right? So to keep it interesting, in my opinion, it's very good to pick like a theme for a video, as you said, for instance, like transit, and you just go about transit hub, and you can turn that into like how to build. Like good public transport in general. You could do how to build a major transportation hub. You can have how to have various forms of public transportation coincide and fall back on themselves basically, so you have a good layout. That is all very interesting in my opinion, and that definitely helps like keep like a good pace of a YouTube series, like in
Absolutely.
general, right?
It does. It can be limiting sometimes, and you have to find creative ways if you're working on a part that, say, doesn't really have a focus, but it's needed to make the story go or make the city look realistic. Not every episode can be like this premier signature build.
Exactly,
Like,
that's
you're
yeah.
not going to build the downtown in every episode. You're not going to
Yes.
make an airport in every episode. Some episodes are just going to be filler.
Expansion
And
filler episodes, yeah.
exactly. And expansion episodes, what do you? That's the challenge in creating content is like, how do you make those interesting too?
Yes. Yes. Agreed. 100%. Like, I always try to slip in some small tips and tricks, like whenever I'm building, just like expanding a neighborhood. And I try to see, like, okay, what is interesting? What is like got small details, small tips and tricks. For instance, leave a little bit of space between your arterials to have, or next to your arterials to have like a small green space or something to make it look nice. These sort of things to keep it interesting and engaging for the viewer, for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked about mods, and you are a modded player, but do you actually prefer modded, or like you said you also go back to vanilla, but you have like some visual mods always active, right?
Yeah. So I do prefer modded play. But yeah, like I said, vanilla's grown on me in the past few months. For building a city, modded all the way, and 100%
Yeah.
modded. Never without visual mods. I'll always have that on. But for doing, say, making a map, when I make a map, I do vanilla, just entirely vanilla, except for some theme mixes. Because if I'm making a map, I want it to be accessible to everyone. I don't want them to have to download, 30 different trees and different roads
Yeah, that's fair.
uh, and a bunch of DLCs. I want it to just be as easy as possible for the regular player to play along on it. But when I'm building my kind of main premiere series on YouTube, I want it to look as nice as possible. So mods are a big part of that. Custom assets are a big part of that. Um, and really, it it allows me to make a city that resembles wherever I'm trying to build based off of. With vanilla, everything you do vanilla kind of has a vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's sort of it's certain theme and vibe, and there's like you can do European or international. You can mix them with mods, but even that's modded then.
True.
And it looks kind of like a cartoon show. So I do have a vanilla series. where I do build a city. But even that is more like tutorial driven. So a lot of tutorial driven content will be vanilla.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's a mix of the two, but modded is definitely kind of my go-to.
that's nice. Are there like can you name top five mods of all time for you? Is it even possible to condense it down to five?
I
Let's
think
say no visual mods.
I think I do have five. My five would be um, procedural objects. I love the ability to kind of take any object in the game and modify it and create something new with it. I like to use it to do like custom signs with text and fit buildings into weird corners and make new things altogether. It's purely aesthetic, and to make it function, there's some tricks you can do, but it just makes the city look so much nicer. Precision engineering is another one I really like. It's subtle. It's so subtle you don't even know it's there. Um, but it shows you the units and how many meters high something is.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just it makes it easier to measure things and make nicer looking designs.
Quality
Um,
of life mod.
exactly, exactly. So that one, it's like I even with a lot of my vanilla builds, I use it because it's like so easy. Um, Network anarchy, I would say, is another good one, just because you have that ability to have a little more control over your road layout and your rails. So that one's big. Find it. I am big into plopping, so I just find that for like residential and commercial like zoning, if you've got a lot of mods and assets, if you got like 1,000 assets, there are some mods to kind of control for this, but you see things just spawn that don't make any sense. With
Understand,
vanilla,
yeah.
with vanilla you zone and everything kind of fits a theme and you can do district styles. So I use find it and I just plop everything by hand if I'm doing a modded city. Uh, so that one's definitely big. And then move it goes along with it because you can
Oh yeah.
fit things into different spaces. So that's my top five.
Nice. That is a nice list. That's a nice list. I also love TMP is very
Oh,
good, very
absolutely.
helpful, and what is it called? A node controller renewal. I just
Mhm.
think in terms of like just the visuals, intersection marking tool. My God, there's so many.
Oh, yeah.
There's like so many. You can't even like. I could five is very limiting. I would think for me it would be move it for sure. TMPE, node controller renewal, network anarchy probably, and I don't know. I got to go with the intersection marking tool. I think just to make everything look nicer. 'Cause it's unbelievable to me how much of a difference it makes when you go over your intersections or your interchanges with node controller, and
Mhm.
then you go back in with intersection marking tool to make it look just more realistic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it's very difficult to do a top five,
It
but
is. And with intersection marking tool, like I need to use it more. I used to just go hours and hours and hours on end with it and make everything. I've kind of cut back on using it because, especially when I'm like recording my episodes for YouTube, it's like, how many people want to watch me make an intersection line for half an hour when
exactly,
there's
yeah,
so much going on?
yeah,
So sometimes I'll do that stuff off camera or just show like one or two. But I haven't been using it a lot lately because with a lot of the like interchanges I do, I've been focused on making them vanilla. So that's something that I haven't really used, but
fair.
I do love it. And node controller is another one that I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely a top five. It's hard to choose five, but it's five and a half.
Five and a half. That seems pretty good. I usually forget to use intersection marking tool. I go with node controller most of the time, but then I forget to go back in and do the markings properly. Well, not with YouTube because that's just vanilla, but for my own, for just for me the gameplay, but also for the for streaming, for being live on Twitch. I then you have like once you forget, that's a problem because then you have these like massive areas that you would technically need to go back into every intersection and see if you could make it look nice. So I think it's always
Yeah.
good. For me, I try to also like take it more slow. Like I found myself just creating a neighborhood, creating a road layout for industry, maybe for a commercial area, just zoning everything and then just doing some minor visual tweaks to just make it look nice, maybe a little park
Hmm.
area, and then just moving on.
Yeah.
And I kind of like forgot to, or I don't know how or where or when I lost it, but I kind of forgot to, I don't know, not micro or yeah micro detail, which for me, since I now a couple of weeks ago I remembered that, and actually it was Overcharged Egg's new building guide series that pushed me back to it, which is like just like 2 weeks old or 3 weeks old I think.
Hmm.
And I started to, okay, I really need to slow it down again, take my time, and not leave an area until I think it's done. Like that's my big problem right now. I just like I don't know why, but I kind of like rush through it. Like I'm not speed running the game. I mean, I tried that too once, but I need to just make it look good for me, for myself too,
Yes,
and then it looks good for
absolutely.
everybody most of the time.
Absolutely. Um, I know that with one of my most recent videos, I spent a ton of time detailing, getting everything right. I come back to edit the footage. I had 16 different video clips.
Oh,
It
wow.
took me 2 weeks to edit it. It was and I was just like every day I was like a little at a time, little at a time. I actually had to put it off from release for 2 weeks because I was like, "You know what? I want this to be good. I want this to be quality. There's so much content here." And with those 16 different clips, each one like an hour long, 2 hours long, I got 12 minutes of content or something like that.
Wow. Okay, that is some condensing right there. That
Yeah.
is amazing. And I believe that is quite a lot of work. Like I always get intimidated when I finish a recording and I see like recording time like 50 minutes or over an hour. I'm like, "Oh my God, no. That's going to be so much editing work."
Yep, and lately I've just been doing a little at a time, like here and there every day. I used to just set aside a whole day for editing,
Oh
and it
wow.
was so
Okay.
much work. So now I just do a little after work, a little on the weekends, and by the end of the week, I've got something great.
Yeah, that's perfect. Like spread out the editing. That's what I like to do as well. As I said in the beginning, I did some changes in my personal work situation, and I have a bit more time now, and it's just so nice being able to. All right, we're gonna chill. I'm gonna take my time. I'm not gonna rush the recording. I'm not gonna rush the editing process. I can do a much better thumbnail now because I have more time. And that is for me just so much more like quality of life because I can just there's no like stress. It used to feel like it was very stressful and I had to quickly get recordings done, quickly get the editing done. And now it's just so much better because I don't really care if I record for an hour. So what? Now I have time to edit everything and make it, well, in my opinion, perfect. Make it a good video, make it a perfect video.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, it's never perfect.
Not
I
not ever, that's true.
Yeah, I have a video coming out tomorrow morning, and I am still redoing voiceover clips and editing little things here and
Oh,
there, even though I'm like done and it's
yeah.
been done for 3 days. I'm still looking at it and I'm still like day before release, just getting it right. And I'll probably look at the final picture and say, oh, you know what? I could have done that. Oh, I could have done that.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that. Going back and then just realizing, hey, why did I do that? What did I do here? Oh my God, no, that could have been so much better. That's me as well. Yeah, I I know that feeling for sure.
Yeah, I think anybody that's plays this game or creates content or both knows that feeling.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. So Diana, another question about all the DLCs and content creator packs. What do you think in general about the downloadable content and the content creator packs being released? with such frequency that they keep the game interesting. And is there like any favorite DLC or CCP that you have?
Yeah, so honestly, I think they're all good in their own ways. There's some that are better than others, but generally, I think releasing new content is a good thing. Um, it shows that the game is fresh. It shows that they're still supporting it. It shows that they're still thinking of new ways to provide value, and new ways to keep this old game interesting. There's a lot of talk of, oh, well, we need a sequel, um,
Yeah, exactly.
and I'm on the fence about that. I think the game still has a lot in it. I think there is some things that could be updated for a better engine, better, newer systems. But overall, I mean, there's other games that I play that are 20 years old, like Age of Empires, and that are still
Fair.
getting support, still getting updated. Um, so it's not out of the realm of possibility to say, oh yeah, well, let's just keep on bringing stuff in. Um, you don't have to buy it, you don't have to download it. It is unpopular when there's, say, a new release and the update breaks a bunch of mods. It's never fun. But overall, I do think they provide value. I do look forward to seeing more of them and downloading more of them. I have everything but the radio stations and the maps and the vehicles. I'd say my favorite of the content creator packs. I've been a big fan of Mid-Century Modern. Like, I don't think it gets enough love. I think there's a lot of cool things there that kind of get overlooked. The hotels and the car parks and the restaurant, or the carports and the restaurants.
For sure.
They,
Yeah.
they're it's very cute. Um, I did not like it at first, but it's grown on me. Is Heart of Korea. There's some stuff there that looks really stupid. I'm not gonna lie. But there's some stuff that's just really cool and fits in anywhere. It's really amazing, like, what I've been doing with it lately in just every city, putting little things from it here and there that at first I was like, "No, this DLC's awful. I can't use it." But the more I use it, the more I like it. Um, for the actual DLCs, I'd say Industries is probably the best just because of how much it adds to the game.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I'd say other ones like Campus and Park Life are pretty close too because of that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean,
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I gotta
I
say, I think it's pretty good. I've never been like a fan or like one of the voices that say, "Oh, we need a second part of City Skylines." I mean, of course, there's stuff that you could add to the base game, which what people do with mods. Uh, just like a prop line tool, for instance. Like, why can't I draw a row of trees, vanilla,
yes.
right? Or why can't I just like select multiple trees and just delete them? Just like small stuff like that. So I think the DLCs and the CCPs have been keeping the game interesting for me. I'm also like a fanboy. I have everything except I think there's like a couple of radio stations I'm missing, but I think for me personal, the one of the best DLCs that have dropped so far is the Plazas and Promenades.
Oh yeah.
I really love the pedestrian areas, the pedestrian roads, the wall-to-wall buildings. They look so amazing. Like, oh my god, the details on this, like, on these murals on the buildings are like so amazing. But I also like from the earlier days, Snowfall is a big one because of the trams and stuff, and
Yes.
green
Yes.
cities. I love green cities, mass transit. After, like, oh my god, I must say that I'm not that big a fan of Industries, honestly. I know it adds a lot to the game, but first I couldn't really wrap my head around the DLC, like how it works, and I've watched tutorials on it from a bunch of people. I never really like I then again, I've never really like dove into it myself. Like, I never really sat down in one of my saves in one of my cities and really just like played with the Industries DLC properly. It took enough time to really check everything out and just figure out some steps for myself, how everything works. But other than that, I also think that well, the newest, the financial districts is kind of a cool little add-on to the game. But yeah, I think if I'd have to pick my all-time favorite DLC, I think I would go with Plazas and Promenades, a fairly new one, but
Yeah.
these pedestrian areas are amazing. The wall-to-wall buildings are chef's kiss, in my opinion. Visually, they look super good, and everything about this DLC is just so amazing. So I think that is, and I gotta go with also with the Seaside Resorts Content Creators Pack.
Oh, those are
That
beautiful.
is really nice. These like
Yes.
19th century buildings. It's I think it I guess it could be difficult to actually place them in a city, or but you'd have to like I just place everything willy-nilly most of the time, so I don't have a problem with that. But if somebody has a themed city, they could be kind of difficult to add into an existing city. But other than that, I think those look very nice. But also the mid-century modern with the carports and the diners and hotel buildings, super amazing stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree on plazas and promenades. It's very cool. I find myself using it for little things here and there, like those pedestrian roads. They're
Those are
just
amazing, yeah.
I just find using them on like a block or two and creating little tiny walkable areas. And it's just so good for those little details. It reminds me a lot of park life in that way. It's like you
Oh
have an empty
yeah.
space. You know, you have an empty space and it's kind of weird shaped. You don't know what to do with it. Put some pedestrian roads, add some of the little crops or a little plaza, and you're good to go.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That is also something I love to do, like little fillers with like park life or with the pedestrian roads, because I do think they are so good, like visually, and it's really cool what they add to the game with the just walkable area and no car traffic except the service buildings. So I do think that the service vehicles. So I do think that the DLCs also they provide enough value for me for replayability. I mean, there's so much options. There's so many options in the game. It's for me, it doesn't get boring. Like I don't even like at this point, I don't even think I would need more content for the game or a sequel because like I think it's really good like it is. But then again, Paradox and Colossal Order just surprise us with more content, and it's just like wow, like the financial districts for me was a shock. Like I was like, wait, what? More
Yeah.
content? More
Yeah, that
content?
came out of
That
nowhere.
came out of
Just
nowhere, right? Yeah, and it's so amazing too. Like it's I think it's a good enough DLC that it like stands on its own. It's not one of my top favorite ones, but I think it's so cool with the financial districts. You have like vanilla players have more options now to get more variety in their city with the
yes.
banks, the financial districts themselves, and you can manipulate the stock market to get like a ton of cash.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing like a lot of people struggle with in the beginning is like getting money.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
definitely help for that. Um I feel like financial districts is like it's worth it for the price because it's like $8 US. It's pretty
Oh yeah.
cheap. Uh, I think if you're doing full vanilla, it's excellent. I think with modded, there's like a lot of the buildings like they don't really fit in if you're doing like a highly modded city. But the ones that I've found that I like a lot, the small bank, that little tiny bank,
Yeah.
beautiful,
That is
and the
really cool.
skyscraper bank. You put one of those skyscraper banks in your downtown, it looks amazing. Same with the trade center, like it looks so good.
I agree.
So I have mixed feelings on it for that reason. Like, oh, if I'm doing modded, like there's like 3 buildings I can use. But if I'm doing vanilla, like you could put a whole bunch of different stuff together and really make it look neat.
That is so true. That is really true. I think it's worth it too, and yeah, I'm glad that I have it. I'm glad that it brings so much value also to vanilla players, to make
Yeah.
your city even more like variety, bring more variety to your city.
Yeah. I mean, I did like a video review of it and I jokingly said like, "Oh, if you're modded, hell no. But if you're vanilla, fits in perfect. Like go for it." Like it's a nice to have. And that's kind of how I feel. And because I do both, I bought it. I was like, this is worth it. Like I can make a lot of cool content around it. Like, I really like a couple of the unique buildings, but then everything else, if I was just doing modded cities, I'd probably be like, nah. But because I do vanilla now too, I'm like, yeah, let's play with it. Let's make it
Oh
happen.
yeah, for sure. I also use it in well, I use it in my modded city as well, but I still have to upgrade that area. Got to update that area. But it's also really cool for my vanilla build over on YouTube. So that is pretty good in terms of value for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's rare you get like a full DLC, and they say it's a small expansion, but it's as big as any other DLC, and it's half the price. So that's really cool too.
That is true. That is true. I agree with that. Yeah. So, Nana, you mentioned that you also played like SimCity prior to playing City Skylines. What do you think it is that sets City Skylines apart from other city building games like SimCity, for instance? Like, are there any like unique features or mechanics?
Yeah, I think it's a little more. It's I would say the support for modding and the strong like mod and asset creator community is a big one. You can do almost anything with it like that, and also, I mean, the curved roads. I don't think that the original SimCity had that. I would say there's a lot more unique mechanics in it. For example, like being able to create public transport lines and really managing that, and the traffic being linked to actually how many people are in your game, and the paths of the traffic mattering, and it being just like that's a whole game in itself, is just managing traffic and transit. And then on top of that, building a nice looking city. So there's really a lot there. But overall, like number one, that support for the content creation community that comes from the developers is really big for me.
That is true. I agree. That is truly amazing. And can we give a quick shout out to the modding community? Those creators do a tremendous amount of work. We've grazed the topic earlier just a bit when new content drops and new DLC releases, and it's like a modded game breaking release. The modded community works very, very hard. And yeah, we appreciate you very much if you're listening.
Yes, yes, absolutely. 100%. Without the community of people who do mods and custom assets, I would say this game would have had a slightly shorter lifespan, at least for me. I probably
Yes.
would have played it for a couple months and then kind of been like, you know what? It was fun. I'll come back to it, and maybe not been as engaged as I am.
I think I would agree with you here too, because like I said that I was a console player and that stuff never bothered me. But then the more I played and a vanilla style because I didn't have any other choice, and the more like videos I watched and modded gameplays or let's plays, but also mod tutorials, I checked out a few as well just because I was curious. And then you, as a vanilla player, you see all this stuff and you're like, oh my God, this is literal game changers, right? I need this in my life. That fixes all the issues that I'm currently having, sort of. And so that always like left me like with the craving for, oh my God, one of these days I need to get this game for PC because I have to play with mods. And it turns out it is really amazing. And yeah, I think I agree with you on that statement that for me, also, I don't know if the game would be as relevant as it is today if it wasn't for the mods and assets. Like if you go asset shopping in the workshop, you say, oh, okay, let's look for some stuff for about 15-20 minutes, and you find yourself browsing for like 2 hours
That's true.
because
That's
there's
true.
so
I'm
much good
guilty.
stuff there.
I have 20,000 assets now, so I need to do some cleanup.
Wow. I'm still always scared because I'm also like kind of a tech noob. I don't really know stuff into detail about computers, and so I'm always scared that my machine can't handle it. But it's all good, right? It's all good. I don't go
Yeah.
overboard with stuff. I just have like a couple of hundred assets, I think. I don't like, I don't.
I don't I don't know anything about computers. I just saw my loading screen said I had 20,000 assets, and I'm like, I probably need to clean that up, but I don't know what I'm using in each city. So I've done, in order for like loading times to be okay, I've created separate accounts on Steam for like modded and vanilla. And so
Oh,
that helps a lot.
yeah, that's exactly what I do as well. I had it before when I didn't know that I can, because like City Skylines is also like, yeah, kind of my first time going into Steam, like in depth. And oh, I used to have like just one account for everything, and I would have to switch, turn everything on and off, like all the mods and stuff for the various gameplay. And then sometimes you forgot to turn something on or forgot to turn something off, and it's just like a hassle. And then I found out, hey, I could just have multiple accounts. So I got like three accounts, one for my modded, one for vanilla, and one for like collaborations and stuff. So everything kind of like fits, and it works just so much better and so much smoother in general.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, it's true. It's true. Having the two accounts works amazing. I can load up the game in 49 seconds and start playing as opposed to having to wait 15-20 minutes for modded.
Oh my god, yeah, that is a long wait. So do you have any like memorable moments or achievements from playing the game that you would like to share?
Yeah, so I remember I I built this city that got to 450,000 population. And
Wow.
really wasn't that big, but it was super deeply detailed. And I did it all on my laptop, which I still have, before I upgraded it to 64 gigs because it was at 32. Um, and I detailed it down to like each intersection having a name for the street with the signs, and each highway exit having a name for where to go, and different, like,
Wow.
I detailed it so deeply and created this city that was so large and spread out with like a bunch of different little like towns surrounding it and different nodes of like, oh, this area is focused on medium kind of mid-rise, this area is all suburbs. It
Oh
was
yeah.
it was so extreme with the level of detail combined with the size that I found it hard to even like work on a different city at some point. I mean, I did. Obviously, I've got like 3 different cities I'm working on right now, but this was before I was on YouTube. So just like seeing it and like the amount of time I spent on it and the things that I built, I don't think it could ever be replicated. And so I'm really proud of that. But I also don't think anybody would actually want to watch it on YouTube because it was so tedious.
I understand that, but it's for you. It was worth it, and
It was.
that is quite the memorable moment or the memorable
It was.
city.
Absolutely. And I learned so much from building it, like about the game mechanics, about just designing spaces in general, that it's informed everything I built since.
Oh yeah, that is really cool. I think for me, or one of the memorable moments would probably be my first city that I like got up and running on PlayStation. I think it was like 130,000 population. So the first city, I watched tutorials as I played basically and tried to mimic my favorite City Skylines content creators as best as I could with vanilla. I don't, I'm not sure what time that was. Probably like I don't know, like 2016 or something. And I was so proud of that city as well that I was like, I did on the PlayStation, you also have that feature where you can record, you can take screenshots, of course.
Mhm.
And so I recorded like flyovers of nighttime with all the lights and stuff. And I was I'm still for myself, I'm still very proud of that city. Funny story though, once I realized that there are office zones available and you have the possibility to meet the industrial demand with office, I was like, hey, I can build like a green city and get rid of all that generic stinky industry. So I
Mhm.
did that. So and then I realized, why is my city now a traffic mess? Well, I didn't think of the fact that I have to import everything now from out of
Yep.
town,
Yep.
which obviously put a strain on my like limited capacity interchanges in the city. So I was like, wait, what is happening? So I stopped. I don't know. I think I ended up Googling the problem and found that, oh, so office to, oh my God. And like I changed everything back, and then it worked out. I think it recovered. I obviously watched a lot of city fix videos back then, and tried to figure everything out, but I got it back. I got the city back. That was a good, funny moment, but also for me, also one of the memorable moments in my early years of playing.
Yeah. I've been there too. I've done some stuff that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, now I know what's wrong." But back then I was confused.
Learning by doing. It's like the
Yeah.
best strat if you don't
I
break any everything.
I think on my first city, what happened was I built the railroad tracks, basically cutting through the downtown and having an at-grade crossing at each intersection of the grid,
Oh,
and I had no idea why my traffic was so bad. And I was like, "Why is my city dying? This should be fine."
what is going on? Yeah, exactly.
And, like, the trains, like, having to, like, cut off everybody, and where I live, like, and where I grew up, there's cities where the train tracks actually do that. They just cut across roads, but in the game, it doesn't work. And then I think about it, and I'm like, well, yeah, even in real life, if you have to like wait 20 minutes for a freight train to go by, there's gonna be some traffic.
That is so true. And it's like in the game, I find that I constantly avoid ground level crossings. Like like not even a single ground level crossing I try to
Oh,
have
same.
in my city. Because yeah, I found too that even one can, with like bad timing of two trains, for instance, it can mess up your traffic. It's insane sometimes. So I'm
Yep.
very cautious of these ground level crossings. But that's also like a funny story. Like I think we've all been there. Like I remember my seeing my first train traffic back up. I was like, what's going on here? How do the trains get backed up? And well, if you plan that poorly and do like you plan train junctions the same as you plan road junctions, of course, that doesn't work.
It's a mess. I have fixed some nasty train traffic before, but lately I haven't been playing with trains too much, so I need to get back on that.
Same here, actually. Same here. Diana, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges for new players or for experienced players with the game?
Yeah, I think a lot of people get too caught up in doing everything by the book and like following certain rules, following game mechanics too closely, which I think sometimes can lead to designs and layouts that feel a bit artificial. And
Oh
a lot of
yeah,
people, oh, why does my city look so ugly? Oh, I see all these. And it's like, well, you can make a beautiful city that functions well. It may not be perfect, and that's okay. So I think that's one thing. And I used to get caught up in that too, where it's like, oh, if I don't make everything exactly the way it's supposed to be and make sure every single need is perfectly met, I'm gonna lose. And there's no way
oh
to
yeah,
lose.
yeah.
I mean,
True,
obviously, like
true.
your city can die, but um I don't mind a little bit of traffic here and there. It makes things look a little more realistic.
Yeah,
I I obviously want to keep my power and water and garbage and death care all met. But I'm not going to allow game mechanics to sacrifice creating an aesthetically nice city.
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. I agree actually with that. Yeah,
I think another thing people struggle with is interchanges,
one
creating
hundred
good
percent.
interchanges. Which it's funny because like some of like my most popular content is just an interchange tutorial, like
Yeah.
3 minutes, build an interchange. I think a lot of people struggle with like making them look nice, making them flow nice. So I think it resonates with a lot of players. Like, oh, look at this tutorial of this interchange. So I think that's another thing that people focus or at least struggle on. Um, and I mean, a lot of the traffic can be alleviated with public transit, but sometimes it's just fun to make one.
Oh yeah, 100%. And yeah, I myself also sometimes see, okay, I need another interchange here. So what can I do? That's starting to start. Like, what would fit best here? And like interchanges is something that is kind of daunting at first, but when you think about it, you just look at real life and you just find some images and just see what, and again, learning by doing, just try stuff out and see what works in your city and for the amount of traffic that you have and for the traffic flow. But that is also something that I've like consumed out the wazoo is interchange videos, of course.
Oh yeah, I mean, like a couple of my interchange videos that I've made are just inspired by watching other creators do them and mimicking their processes, adding my own spin on their processes, coming up with my own processes based on like a big one I watched a lot of was Yumble, and another big one I watched, who's kind of a smaller creator, was HK. Like those two make some amazing interchanges. And so when I was making some of my videos, I drew a lot of influence from that because I was like, you know what? I see this here. I think I can put my own spin on it. I think there's some stuff that when I was building it um, that would be really well communicated to players that I found that were my sort of struggles in doing this design, or that were things that maybe, oh, I found this other way to do this one thing, or just creating my own designs altogether. It's always different.
Yeah, that's so true. And again, it comes to play what you said earlier. Like, there's so many different types of players that there can be like a wide variety of viewers that tend to enjoy these interchange videos. Even sometimes if the viewer themselves don't even play the game, just because
Yeah,
they like watching the process. And I think that's
it's
pretty cool.
it's an art form.
Yeah,
It really is.
exactly, exactly. Like, I mean, there's stuff that I watch on like gaming content, especially, and I don't even play the game, but that's just because I like the person or I like the process of what's happening. So that's the same with these like interchange builds. I guess it can be also like somewhat therapeutic to some people to just like sit back, relax. You know, you got some nice music playing and just watching time lapse of like an interchange build, or even with like detailed descriptions also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to make too. I would say some of my favorite content to make is an interchange build because it's usually simple, it's fast, it's easy, and it's so minimalistic that it's like this sort of creative endeavor in itself, that I have a lot of fun making that content. Not that I don't like making any of the things that I make,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's that's why I make so many interchange videos. They're a ton of fun for me to make, and they go pretty quickly.
And people seem to like them, so that's a win-win, right? So that's
Exactly.
pretty cool.
And I think like a big thing that I've done that's been popular is like that short form style. It's not quite like TikTok short form, but it's like, oh, 3 minutes and you can build this beautiful interchange.
Oh yeah, like that in itself is just like something that hooks the attention of like from the start. Like, okay, just like in a few minutes I can do this interchange. That's amazing. Like you see it
Yeah.
on the thumbnail, and then you say like, okay, like this took like 5 minutes or whatever. That is, yeah, that's also something I focused on like in the last year is like these like 2 to 6 minute videos, let's say, with just like rapid fire quick tips to gameplay or to city building in general, to the layout, to whatever. And that seemed those were really fun to make actually, and these videos also seem to resonate with a lot of people, which was pretty cool, right? Obviously, the most popular ones would be like some like traffic fixing scenarios or how to avoid traffic and all these kind of things. Which, of course, like traffic is like the one thing, or is like I would say, you know, in my opinion, is traffic is like the one big enemy in the game that can ruin everything if not handled properly. So, as for me, I always found like city fix videos very interesting, or just like small videos where we get like tips and tricks to battle the traffic in cities. I found that pretty interesting.
Oh
Always.
yeah. Traffic, that is like the one thing that causes almost every player like this emotional response is like traffic.
Oh
Like
yeah.
fix it. And the funny thing with traffic is like, yeah, there's all these creative ways of like, oh, you can use TMPE. Oh, you can do lane mathematics. You can make these beautiful, complicated interchanges. But really, like the best traffic fix is just get people off the road, you know?
So true. So true. Yeah.
But here I am. I'm like, I like to build kind of like suburban dystopias, you know? I like to build these like kind of hellscapes that are like not quite right. Like, oh, maybe they're doing better with transit than they used to, and I'm bringing in some stuff. But I like to like see like, oh, well, this is something that like I I spent a lot of time in like I'm from California, so I spent a lot of time in traffic. I spend a lot of time
You
I
know
mean,
the
I
details.
exactly. I live in the San Francisco area, so it's like I can take the train, I can get on public transit, and it's pretty good. But also, like, that's what I see around me is just like terrible suburbs where, you know, there's maybe a bus that comes once an hour.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to build that sometimes. So, how do I manage traffic in something like that? Um, you're going to use a complicated interchange. You're going to use a time traffic light. You're going to use something creative. You know, you're going to do something like that. And that's okay. I mean, in real life, I want to see the most walkable, transit friendly, beautiful cities. But in game, I like to make something in between.
Oh, yeah. I understand that. It's funny to think that in the city where I work, actually, there are like three highways leading into the city and out of the city. And so in order to go from one highway to the other highway, if you want to basically like transit, you have to drive through the city. And I always like find myself like I need more time to drive through the city to my workplace than I do from my home over the highway to the actual city. So and the distance is of course through the city much shorter, but it takes me
Yep.
longer to go that distance. And I'm like, dude, if this was the game, so easy. Just connect the three highways and nobody has to go through the city, right? So you get all this commuter traffic and truck traffic that needs to go from one highway to the other, but they have to drive through the city. And I'm like, this is a nightmare, right? And I always find myself thinking about the game. So when I commute to work and from work back home, so of course there's like certain times of day where it's like when you like can just barely avoid the rush hour. It's not too bad then, but if you get stuck in rush hour, then you're in for some waiting time there. And I always think this is so poorly planned, so poorly planned. Simple fix, just connect the highways, right? But
Yeah.
I don't. You have to
But you
go through the
can't.
city. Yeah, you can't, right? But that is a
You would
simple fix.
you would take out people's houses and businesses and all of
Probably,
that. And it's
probably.
like, I mean, we did that in the US. You know, we built tons of freeways that just like destroyed whole neighborhoods and disconnected
Oh
people.
yeah.
Um, in fact, in the city that I live in, there's like a freeway that just destroys the downtown. Like it disconnects the downtown from the entire western part of the city. There's no reason for the freeway to exist because there's another freeway literally just like a mile away.
Oh my God.
And it doesn't connect to anything other than freeways that are already connected. So I'm like, it's if you look it up, it's Interstate 980 in Oakland. And they've talked about getting rid of it and replacing it with a boulevard or something, but it hasn't happened yet.
Oh man. Sometimes I wonder the real world city planners. But then again, like I have no idea about insights on how that stuff actually works. And of course, a lot of these structures were planned like a long, long time ago, and you can't sometimes just can't simply, oh, we do in the game, some urban
Yeah.
renewal. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, you can't just delete everything and start over when you're in the real world.
That is so true. That is so true. Diana, what do you think about like collaborations such as the 5B1C? I don't know if you have heard of that, the Five Builders One City, initiated by Zardas, which is like
I
sort of a
saw.
multiplayer mode.
Yeah,
You've
I've seen those before.
and have you participated in a collaboration of sorts?
Not on YouTube, but I have done one before. So before I was a content creator, I was in the City Planner Place Discord, and the moderators organized a sort of 5 builders 1 city.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, and you were given a map and a region to work with, and then a group of players, and you were supposed to build a city of a certain style. We ended up getting, what was it? US Pacific Northwest. Um, so we built this beautiful city. It was excellent working with all these other players, um, and creating this city that had all these different build styles in it. We agreed on a certain amount of assets and mods, and um, I ended up detailing the heck out of it. Going in, naming every street, adding every little sign to it. I remember, like seeing some areas that were created. It was like this player used a lot of roundabouts, used a lot of sort of organic designs, and then this player used a lot of grids and a lot of different sorts of more American style designs, and it was neat seeing these 2 or 3 different play styles show up.
That is so true. I was lucky to be a guest builder in the official like 5B1C, which was initiated by Zardas. And that is like the amount of planning that goes in is also like insane in my opinion. Like you have to like make sure with all the mods and all the assets that everything is correct and all of the settings, so you have like somewhat a similar visual appearance
Yeah.
in your content as well. And so, but it's tremendously fun, I think, to what you also just said, like to see, oh, like it's my turn now with the city, and I can check out some of the areas, and I can see, and I'm like, oh, I saw that. This is so cool. And I think it's so cool that when you have these uh, very different style type players and then just come together in one city, and especially if there's areas where multiple players work on together, like of course each can have their own little area, but when you do like a downtown, for instance, collaboration, and one player works on the downtown and then the next player works on the downtown, that is very interesting to see these various these styles coming together. And I thought that was a really cool aspect of this sort of multiplayer mode, which I thought was really really cool.
Yeah, it's neat, and it's like, well, in real life, cities are built by hundreds of people, thousands of people, designed
True.
by different, every single person who builds a building, who builds a house, or starts a business is building the city. So it's on a smaller scale mimicking that, and I think that's pretty cool.
That is true. And like you can, like anybody can do it, right? You just
Yeah.
need, and it doesn't have to be 5 builders. You can do 2 builders or 15 builders. It doesn't really matter. As long as you like, collaborate it properly and have everything squared away. So I think that is a really cool, way to introduce multiplayer into City Skylines.
Yeah, one collaboration I've been watching is Skyline 6. I think that one's a lot of fun. I think it's I don't know who exactly organized it, but I know it's like Joy Builds Cities and Valley and Cities by Steven and Shukoboa. Like there's a few different players who are building this pretty large vanilla city. I think they're almost done with it now. Um, but it was a really cool series. And to see like all of these different builders put this together and then go to the premiere every week, and everybody, it's a different person every time. It's really neat to see like the same city, not only how it's built, but like the video editing style, the
Oh yeah,
commentary style. Like
yeah.
a memorable moment from that was watching I believe watching Jukaboa. He was building a interchange, and he had the cinematic camera going on while he was building it, spinning around, kind of orbiting around the center point, and it was just this really cool effect, and I'm like,
Wow.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
I think I've heard of that collaboration. I don't think I've seen anything. I like the name though, Skyline 6. That sounds pretty cool. Sounds
Yeah,
like a team of superheroes actually.
it does, right?
It's really
So
cool. That's a great name. That is really a good name. Yeah, I think I heard of it before. I'm not sure. I might have seen a trailer for that collaboration, but then I don't know. I guess I forgot about it or something. But yeah,
yeah,
that's really interesting. I think
and
I have to look that up.
yeah, they had a couple guest builders too, and um yeah, it's been a really neat series.
That is cool. I really have to look that up. So, is there like anything, or what is that? What is the one thing that you struggle most with in the game? Is it like maybe the traffic? We talked about that, layout, demand, policies, mods.
There's a couple of things. I would definitely say I do still struggle with traffic. It's funny, in my, like, fully vanilla city, my traffic is, like, 92%. It's, like,
Ooh,
insanely good, and I
dang.
have no idea why, because the city's getting big, um, and so with the traffic, I think what it is that, it's about the planning, especially vanilla, like, you can't have your industry in all in one place. It has to be spread out through different parts of the city. Same with your garbage, same with your different services. And I think the way that I planned the city really helped the traffic to like not be a huge issue. I have like one intersection in that city that's just backed up constantly, but other than that, it's like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good. And I'm surprised because it's just some grids and a couple of interchanges, nothing too fancy. Um, but I still struggle with traffic. I mean, in some of my modded cities, like the traffic is so bad, I don't even want to share how high that percent is. And it's that balance. It's the balance of like balancing like realistic layouts with traffic management. Because in usually, if you want to get perfect traffic, the layout is gonna look unrealistic. It's gonna look like kind of a game. It's not really.
Yeah.
So to balance out creating like a very realistic layout that looks like a real city, that looks like something I would see on a map or on Google Earth or wherever or in real life, the traffic's always going to be a little funky. And so it causes realistic problems. So I'd say that's something I struggle with. Another one is definitely like mods, like really getting the right mod mix, especially when there's an update, like tuning the game, getting everything right. And even sometimes when there's not an update, you'll still have certain mods that break or that don't function quite right.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I do see a little bit of issues with. Um, I know that like sometimes network anarchy, it'll act weird and it'll make things it'll make the sidewalks on the road disappear or something
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
So true.
And it's like, "Oh, come on." But yeah, those are kind of the two things. Other than that, I think I especially when I'm building like big modded cities, I forget to meet the needs of the city. So I forget to put a power plant down. I forget to make sure there's enough water and sewage. I forget to do the death care or whatever. So it's more like remembering that, like, oh yeah, I'm playing on unlimited money right now. I'm doing just a sandbox build, but I still want it to work. I don't want it to be a dead city.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
get
so
that.
it's
I get that.
remembering that.
For me, it's also probably traffic, since I just like kind of ignore my own city fix or traffic fix tips most of the time. Then I realize, and oh shoot, I got to go back in and fix something.
Yeah.
And definitely, I have to work on my my city layout, like what I said before, like better become better at general planning of cities.
Yes.
But is there also anything that you dislike about the game? Like there's like a lot of controversy, I guess, is first of all on Chirpy, and maybe also on the ads from the radio stations. Or do you even listen to the in-game radio station?
So I used to listen to the in-game radio stations all the time, and I actually like the ads. I think like I love the law accounting and at the old grain mill and all of that stuff. I think it's hilarious. Um,
Hilarious. Agreed.
I think they're great. I do not like Chirper. I as soon as I found a mod to disable him, he was gone.
Oh my
Just
god.
just gone. Like I think it's a cute like I think it's cute. I think it's fun, but I think it's just it's too imposing, especially when I'm creating content that it kind of messes with my ability to focus. But what I really really dislike is just the limitations that exist that like when you get to a higher level of play where you're like creating very large cities is like the node limit, the building limit, the zone squares limit. I
Yeah.
wish there was a way to get around those. And I think people are working on it because at some point I keep that in mind when I'm doing like these really heavy detailed things that I'm like, "Oh, well, I can't use a network fence. I got to do something else." and that can be limiting. Also, just some of the cartoonish vanilla style buildings. I think that a lot of the art style looks a little dated now, and could use a refresh. But also, like at the same time, it kind of fits in with like everything else that if you bring in like this hyper realism and then all of a sudden half of it's like hyper realistic and half of it looks like Futurama, it looks weird.
Yeah, so
Uh,
true.
but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, other than that, I think the game is phenomenal. The radio stations, I haven't bought any of the radio stations. Nowadays, especially when I'm like creating content, I'll have something else on in the background. Because I just turn the sound off. It kind of gets in the way of my focus because one thing that I think a lot of people don't know about like creating content for the game as opposed to just playing it is there's a lot of the way you angle your camera when you're building, the way you actually place down a building in order to make it easier for yourself to edit, that sometimes the music and the ads can be distracting from that and I really need to focus. So I put on something else in the background that's a little I don't know how to explain it, but that's that's sort of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I get that, especially about the in-game radio. I noticed it when I, like in my earlier content creation day, or like, yeah, maybe before last year, so like 2021 maybe. I used to have the in-game radio playing because I really like it. I like it to this day. I mean, I love the new
Me
radio
too.
stations as well. And we already established that the ads are hilarious. Although, however, for my live streams, I have the CSL Music mod, which turns off the ads, just because they're like, for streaming, they're like in the way.
Yeah.
I feel the same when I talk. I don't want another voice talking in my ear, so that is distracting for sure. But I think that, or I used to have it so that the radio was on, and then when it came to editing, and I was like, okay, here's a part that has to be like sped up a bit. I would speed it up, and of course the audio, I would also have the audio speed up, and then the song and the radio would be all sped up, and it would just
Mhm.
sound weird. And I was like, nah, that's not really good. I don't like that. So I tend to, when I do recordings, I just mute the in-game radio, and then I just put over maybe some synthwave or some lo-fi that's copyright free. But yeah, for the ads, I do also find they're not just hilarious, but also can be distracting for content creation. If it's streaming or recording, they're just kind of distracting. And I gotta say, I love Chirper. I know why Chirper is getting so much hate from a lot of places. I wouldn't dare to disable Chirper. I really like Chirper, but that might just be me.
He has, how do I say it? I think he's cute. I think he's a good mascot. Um my thing with Chirper is it just, yeah, I think it just distracts me when I'm actually like building.
That's fair.
That's
Yeah,
why I just like disabled it.
that's fair.
Um Even like I get a lot of notifications like you have a new building and I'm like, how do I disable that? I know I have a new building. So I think it's more like on me. It's like because when I'm creating content, especially, I'm like, oh, the focus needs to really be on what I'm doing, um, and the story that I'm trying to tell. And if it pulls up, you can now build a underground metro station or whatever. I'm like, oh, I got to edit that out now.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. That is of course distracting for recordings. I think that the what I like, or what I think is really cool, is that it's just like basically the in-game social media for the
yes.
citizens of your city. So I thought that was kind of cool. And also when I realized that it can sometimes even give you a hint that something is wrong in the city, like when somebody is literally tweeting or chirping, uh, that they can't even get any power here and they're going to move out or something. And then you look in a different area and you see like, oh, they're cut off from the power. What, like, so I thought
That's
that was that
true.
was that was kind of interesting, for me to see, and kind of like a fun gimmick. Plus, I love the chirpy hats. I don't know why. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have it chirper disabled. in the game when I'm recording or when I'm streaming, so I don't really mind. But it's always funny when somebody, like for instance in the live stream, drops by and is like in the chat and is like, "Oh, why do you have that chirper enabled?" And I'm like, I'll make a whole big thing out of it because I like it, and it just leads to some funny moments in general. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. But with the radio stations, with the ads, I had to do something, so I finally got the music mod to disable those.
Yeah, I turn off the sound now on the game.
Mm.
Uh, Even when I'm doing vanilla let's play. So for my modded content, I don't talk at all while I'm recording it. I just do the build, I edit it all, I write a script for the voiceover, edit the voiceover, put it on, put some music underneath. Most of it is time lapsed, so it's sped up usually 4 times, but sometimes I'll mess with it, make it faster or slower so it fits the actual voice track. Um, and I'll be very intentional about the music that I choose. But when I'm doing a vanilla build where doing my vanilla series, it's kind of a beginner's guide. I actually do that live. I record that all live. Keep I'll keep the in-game sounds on to an extent, but I'll turn off all the music. Um, and the reason I do that is because the series is aimed at beginners, I want to be live in the moment reacting to things that are happening in the game. I'll
Oh
still
yeah.
speed up sections. So I'll still, if there's a section that maybe I'm not talking, I want to speed it up enough just to keep the action going. Or if I'm talking over something where, for example, I'm detailing and I'm talking about, like, oh, this is how you really make a nice looking green space that's detailed. I'll speed up the whole detail section to just fit what I'm saying. So there's a lot there that I'll still do editing work on, but overall, I still want to preserve that sort of live build feel for it.
Oh yeah, that's actually a pretty good way to go about that. I think that is really good. So I do have one more question before we actually wrap it up, because we've been recording for over an hour and a half now. That is
Oh wow, yeah,
time flies.
it does.
I would just, in closing, like to know: are there any quick tips that you could give to new players which might be listening now?
Absolutely. Don't worry so much. Don't worry about getting everything perfect and right on the first try. There's so many different styles of play. If you want to just build a nice looking city, like, and you don't want to worry about money and all that, grab a few mods, turn on unlimited money, go crazy. If you want to focus on game mechanics, you can still make a great looking city as well. And the number one thing is you can always go back, change and fix things later if you're not happy with your earlier work or if you learn new tricks. And it's always okay to just start over and create a new city. But I would say, yeah, just don't worry so much.
Perfect, perfect tips. I couldn't have said it better. Diana, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. Really appreciate that. For being the first guest on the podcast. That wraps it about up. When do you usually upload your YouTube videos? Do you have a
Yeah, so
schedule?
I do. I have a pretty consistent schedule. I do tutorials every Wednesday, so you'll see like an interchange or a mod tutorial, or sometimes I'll do my vanilla series on Wednesdays. And then on Sundays, every morning at 10:30 Pacific time in the US is a premiere. So I'll do a premiere of one of my modded cities where you can come and chat and talk to everybody in the community and watch it live. And then it goes live for everybody after that. So Wednesdays and Sundays. Occasionally I'll do other random uploads during the week, but that's my main schedule.
Very nice. And that is Cities by Diana on YouTube. But the channel will also be linked in the description below. So please, everyone, go and subscribe to Cities by Diana for some amazing City Skylines content. Again, GG's for the YouTube partner. That is a really, really great thing that you did in such a short time. And yeah, once again, thank you so much. And everyone out there, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening in. Stay safe out there. And thanks again. Diana, bye bye once again. Thank you.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
Bye.